When I founded Forge Wealth Management, I created a firm that aims to put our clients' interests first. Our clients are our priority. We create customized financial plans tailored to your needs and deliver them in a clear and concise manner. We are committed to our relationship with you and want to be part of your life journey. Welcome to Forge Wealth Management. We look forward to meeting you.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Marcia O'Connor and I am the CEO and founder of Shadow Her, which is a nonprofit that basically helps women entrepreneurs with their operations over a 6-month time period. And as you know, with this podcast, we have wonderful women entrepreneurs on here. And today is also a wonderful entrepreneur, Grace Gill. Grace Gill has a wonderful florist company called Daughter's Floral Design. And we're going to talk to her today about specifically how she got started, the ups, the downs. She's still in the beginning phases, people, but she's doing a wonderful thing. So Grace, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to talk to you.
Oh, I am so excited to have you here because, you were part of our Shadow Her program and you got to see basically the little bit of ins and outs of how it all works. But, how did you even get started with Daughter's Floral Design?
Yeah, so good question. I had gotten started as with floral design just as a passion project. I was working in corporate America right out of college, had been doing it for 9 years, I guess maybe 7 or 8 years at that point. Mm-hmm. Just started doing flowers for friends' bridal showers and baby showers. And I was asked to do a friend of a friend's COVID rescheduled wedding in 2021. And her florist had already been rescheduled on the new date, and her venue required vendor insurance. And I thought, well, this is the perfect time to make an LLC. I got to get vendor insurance if I want to do this wedding. And that completely kind of drove the trajectory of where I am now. It's just like a friend of a friend needing a new florist and took a chance on me. And here I am doing it full time.
And here you are, you're doing it full time. Your website is beautiful.
Thank you.
And, to get things moving. But, obviously, did you ever think, because you're working in corporate, and here you are, and you said, take that leap, and, what made you feel so confident to take that leap? That's hard to do.
Yeah, I actually was kind of forced into it in a really, really great way. In corporate America, I was working in the e-commerce industry, and specifically with small businesses every day, small businesses to enterprise level businesses.
Right.
And I had landed with a company that I thought, I'm going to be here for as long as they'll have me. It was a fabulous work culture. I got to work with really cool businesses. I was doing really work that I really valued. I thought I would never leave. But because I was working with those small businesses, I always, in the back of my mind, was thinking, if they can do it, like I can do it. And I would put in a note in my phone, which I'm sure I still have, of different like business ideas or names or products or just ideas of maybe that would take off. Maybe I could do that on the side. Maybe I could sell this product. But never thinking I would, do that full time. And then when I look back at it, I think none of those really panned out, or I wasn't really passionate about it because they were just like, let's see if this would stick. And I didn't really try any of them. They were just fun ideas because I every day was exposed to these other people just making their businesses grow. And then I never really thought that flowers would be what I was doing full time.
And here you are, but you had some people in your life that were very inspirational to basically get you into love flowers. Who were they?
Yeah, so when I had to think of my business name, Daughter's Floral Design, which coming up with a business name was probably one of the hardest pieces of getting off the ground. It feels like so much pressure and like such a commitment. You hear about like how hard it is to change those things or rebrand. So I got kind of paralyzed. But when I was writing it down on paper, the whole reason that I love flowers and floral design has always kind of been a part of my life is because of my parents. They are master gardeners. They are so creative. I grew up watching them create these beautiful spaces around our home, creating beautiful things for other people that they loved. They never did it as a career. But when I think of how I came to appreciate flowers and gardening, and appreciate my creative side, it's all because of my parents. So that's where my name came from. And they are so supportive of everything that I do. My mom works with me basically full time. My dad builds all of my big structures that we use for our weddings and events. So very, very involved.
I love it. It's a family affair.
Yes.
I absolutely love it. But it's good to have that inspiration. People always think you would just come up with these things. I'm like, no, there's usually a journey involved with it, or that right idea, the right time, the right moment. Now you've been through Shadow Her, and you've gone through all the operations and pieces. And what was the biggest thing you've learned through that?
So much. It's hard to choose just one. I remember the first session was was finance, and I just was eating it up because it's such a piece of my business that I kind of like to shut the door and think it'll be okay. So when I think of like the sessions that we did, each session was so important to the way a business functions, but in different capacities. But really, I think what was most important for me is realizing how much I need to connect with people, even if they are not in any remotely near what I'm doing. Just more connection. It's easy to get in your bubble and do your work on your business and think that somebody working on their business that's in a totally different category wouldn't be able to relate, help you in some way. You wouldn't be able to learn something. And I think that was the biggest thing that I took from this. We're all working on completely different businesses, completely different projects. Things that are important to me aren't important to the next person, but those connections are huge.
Yeah, they really are. And I don't think people realize it so much. And it can be very lonely being an entrepreneur as well, because most of your friends are not. And so you got to figure out like who's your tribe going to be when you're hanging out with and all too. And I think the team at Shadow Her, you guys got really tight. It was really cool to see you guys having like text chats and getting together even outside of the Shadow Her program. So I'm just very fond of that, because it really is a certain kind of person that wants to be an entrepreneur, and sometimes you have to go through it to understand all that. So that's pretty cool. Now, are you using any of the things that you've learned in your current business?
Oh my gosh, yes, every day. One of the biggest things is realizing if I don't want to do it or I'm not good at doing it, find somebody that is. And that has changed my business just in the last few months. Bookkeeping, accounting, things like that. Just things that I'll never like to do and I never want to do. And there are people out there who will really look out for you and help you with that if you find the right people. And then even just little things that I picked up from the session. One thing that I think Lisa Peskins had mentioned in her session, which was one of my favorites about business development, is treat yourself and your business like you would want your twin sister to treat it, and would encourage you to do. Like, look at what you're working on as like the person who loves you most would want you to operate. And that has really changed things for me. I do have a sister who is also very involved. So I think about all of the things she tells me, like, you need to be doing this. You could, this would you need to believe in yourself. You need to do that. And I start trying to tell myself, like, push myself a little bit more. If I would tell my best friend, my twin sister, my older sister, that's what I need to be doing.
Yeah, it's interesting. You don't realize it, but it is. And then you take it but the hardest part is, I think, being an entrepreneur is that you think everybody is going to treat it like you do.
Yeah.
And you'll find out quickly that they don't. But most do, but there's always that few that are really just there for the paycheck, not necessarily for like the growth. They made it sounds all good, but like, let me know what I need to do and I'll show up later. It is interesting because you think everybody has that passion and that drive like you do and yada, yada. And, not that it's disappointing, but it can be disappointing. So I think sometimes entrepreneurs have to be careful. I used to ask people all the time, like, hey, what do you guys think about this? And it really, like, they would tell you, but they're really looking for you to tell them what you see the future, the vision was. And it took me a few years to figure all that out. But then I'm like, okay, well, this is where we're going. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to get there. And because they're really looking for you to be that vision. So obviously, Daughters Floral Design has, you do weddings, you do special events. We're going to talk about next, after we take this break, quickly about what's the future? Where do you see it going? Obviously, where it's at right now, it's a family affair. But we're going to talk real quickly about that. But in a minute, we're going to just basically take a break right now, say thanks to our sponsors, and we'll be right back. And I'm Marsha O'Connor. This is Grace Gill. This is Shadow Her Podcast.
Ready to redefine your talent strategy? Let's make Redefine the word of the year for your success. Introducing RAS, Recruitment as a Service. Outsource your talent strategy with the O'Connor Group. Our 4-tiered approach was crafted to align with your business, whether you're launching a startup or leading a thriving corporation. Our cost-effective solutions are designed to elevate your business and enhance your people strategy, ensuring scalability and strategic growth. Redefine your recruitment strategy with RAS.
All right, everybody, welcome back again. I'm Marsha O'Connor. I'm your host for Shadow Her Podcast with Grace Gill, and she is an amazing, super talented florist, has her own company, Daughters Floral Design. Now, listen. I know you started a few years ago. What's the future of Daughters Floral Design? Where do you see it going? What's going to happen?
That's a really great question. It keeps me up at night. There's so much pressure to figure out what's next. I have spent a lot of time deciding that weddings and events is really what I want to focus on. There's a lot of different things you can do with floristry, retail space, classes, things like that, which I can spin my wheels for hours on end and think of like, where should I branch out? But what I do best is weddings and events. And scaling the events that we take on. So doing more luxury events and weddings and the clients that really want those big installations, and also clients like I really want to move in the direction of sustainable floral design. It's a very wasteful industry, and it's something that's carried me this far that people really appreciate about the way I run my business. So keeping that in the forefront and seeing what we can do with growing that niche of clients that appreciate that.
Well, it takes a lot to have already a niche, and knowing that you want to go into the luxury and the wedding side of the house. And, a good friend of mine who owns Chess Cafe in town was saying that there are 40,000 weddings every single year in Philadelphia alone. 40,000. He goes, and he told me like his percentage. He said, I have so much more work to do. And I thought he was already super busy. He goes, oh no, there's so much room for growth. And that's why we're doing so well. But I would imagine like setting yourself up with people like that would be very helpful. Or like all the major caterers out there, like, my dear friend Michelle, who owns 12th Street Catering. Her food's amazing. Her presentations are phenomenal. Probably a great connection for you. Stuff like that would be so helpful. And then once you're in it, you're in it. And now it's going to be hard for you because you got to hire and you got to make sure those things happen. But I want to turn a little bit to sustainability. In your world, obviously, you're right, a lot of waste. How did you come up with the idea of sustainability, and what do you do with the flowers that you don't need anymore?
Yeah. So I kind of stumbled into the sustainability piece of my business very early on, luckily. I was freelancing for another florist, and she had mentioned, I had commented on the flowers looked so beautiful, and she said, they're from local farms, you can tell the difference. And so I immediately started searching for farms to source from rather than wholesalers, which I love my wholesalers. They're wonderful for the off season. But I think it makes my work stand out. It obviously is supporting other small businesses just like myself. But once I started working with the product and I would order from a wholesaler versus ordering from, the farms that I work with, the physical amount of waste with the packaging, even the transport, the amount of water it takes is just like astronomical. So that's how I fell into that niche of design. And I really came to appreciate it almost immediately, rather than, yes, the flowers look way nicer, but it made me feel better operating a business, knowing that I was not contributing, or I was trying to contribute as little as possible to the wastefulness of a notoriously wasteful industry.
Good for you. And then I find that fascinating. Are there a lot of farmers in the area that provide flowers for you?
Yeah, so I can source probably, during between April and November, I can source probably 75% of the flowers I use within 50 miles of Philadelphia, which is really cool. People don't know that.
Yeah.
One of my biggest, the collectives that I work with is located right in Roxborough.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm able to work with them. I work with farms out in Quakertown. And then there's a few that actually work in Philadelphia, near Kensington, that have plots of land. So there's a lot of options that I'm always meeting new farmers. Amy actually just connected me with a friend of hers that has a farm too. So there's plenty of options for locally grown.
Oh, I love that. I love that idea. And you did a wonderful job. We had, for those who don't know out there, we had our graduation for Shadow Her, and Grace and her team were so kind enough to donate the floral arrangements for the tables, and were gorgeous from what I hear.
Thank you.
Because I was out of town that weekend, but it's just, thank you so much for doing that. It's so great. And then if you see yourself, do you want to go more like just local or national? Like, where do you see yourself going?
I think there is so much opportunity, to your point about the Chescafe team saying like there's over 40,000 weddings a year. There are so many more couples than there are vendors. And I just have to keep reminding myself that is like, there's so much opportunity where I am. However, we will go wherever someone wants to hire us to go. Yeah. So we work in Philadelphia, we work in New Jersey, New York, Maryland. So really, hopefully we'll expand across, the East Coast to do events. If people appreciate our design style, I think that's why we want to work with them. So we would go to great lengths to do that.
Oh, that's awesome. So much fun. And if you had to say to one or a few words, I'd say one time is one's not always enough, but to an entrepreneur out there thinking about going out on their own, what would that advice be from you?
Work begets work. I tell myself that every single day. Tiny compounded efforts creates more. It creates abundance. I tell myself that I think it's magic when all of a sudden leads are coming in and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It's like but then I have to get real with myself. And even though I want to think it's magic, it's because I've put in, even if it's just incremental change and work in the pieces of my business that I even don't really want to touch. That's the advice I would give, is just keep small movements. It's not the big connection. It's not, once I get this massive opportunity, it just is the small things that you do every single day.
Yeah, it's your name, it's your brand, it's who you are. I probably drive my team nuts because I'm always putting my little fingers in the marketing and, all the social media stuff. And they're like, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm a little picky and, I'm just so anal about like making sure everything is consistent and has that look and has that feel and has that touch because people expect that from us now. And so I said, you know what, even though like, well, we're just going to send it out. I'm like, no, we're never just going to send it out. I said, we can't because that's that one time that we worked 5 years for can go back 5 years back. And so you always have to be careful. Everything you do goes out the right way. And it's like a quality control piece of it. And as CEO, that is your job. And I think it's also really hard because a lot of people are like, stay away, stay in your own lane. I said, and I do. I just get really picky about that because it doesn't just impact one person, it impacts the entire company. People don't always realize that. How do you take care of yourself? Because it's an awful lot being the bottle washer and the cook and the chef and, what do you do to take care of you?
Oh gosh, my job, what a lot of people don't know about event floral design is how labor intensive it is. It is exhausting, physically exhausting. Right now it's nice. It's the off season. So plenty of time to like physically rest and recover. But in the thick of event season, making sure that, the 2 days after an event, a big event, I have no physical obligation, which is hard because that's when the buckets need to be washed. And that's when, you got to unload the trucks and it never stops. But I think, like the physical aspect, I have to remember if I want to do this long term, I have to take care of myself.
Yep.
And then I think like as far as day to day, the delegation has really saved me, like being more comfortable with finding people to do things that I could just spin my wheels over and not really get very far. And that's a form of self-care, I think.
It's harder than it sounds. People don't realize that. And time just goes so fast. And when you're starting a business, you just feel like, oh my God, it's Sunday already. Oh my God, stop. It's Friday. I still have these 3 things to get done. It's nonstop. But it also means that you love what you're doing. And that's a positive thing.
I love what I'm doing.
But you have to sit back and look at things. And people always say, like, how did you do all this? And you're like, I don't look at it that way. I just look at it one day at a time. So look at it one day at a time, but take some time to go sit back and be like, holy crap, look what we've done here. And be really proud of yourself and just put your hand like this and go, good job. Because not everybody around you says good job. And sometimes you just forget because you're in the moment. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. So do you read books in front of you or do you do audibles?
I'm both. I love working. I love designing to audiobooks. I will crush books on an event week. But I also really love reading. I am a fiction girl though. The business books, the self-help books, I just can't do it. So I'm all about like a mindless escape.
I'm looking at the one I'm reading right now. So I like both. I'm probably more into like learning and growing. So it's really fun. I'm reading Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson right now, and it's really good. And boy, he had a very interesting life, that's for sure. But it's really, really good. And a friend of mine referred it to me, and now I'm listening to it. I do mostly from listening. I'm much better. It's so weird. I can read a book by listening versus reading, but my mind's always wandering a million miles a minute. So it's hard for me to sit and really just pay attention. Which is probably ADHD in the long run, but you got
a lot going on, Marcia.
You got a lot going on, absolutely. But you got to figure out those things, and I also think it's really important to constantly read as well, just to stay on top of what's happening out there to help you. How can people find you?
On our website, daughtersfloraldesign.com. We're on Instagram, daughtersfloraldesign. Recently started TikTok, but who knows where that's going. So same thing. Yeah. Handle is the same everywhere.
Oh, it's awesome. Oh, hey, cool. And then I appreciate you being here today. And anything other advice you want to give to other entrepreneurs out there? Because a lot of people listen to this podcast, which is pretty cool, and then they'll see me sometimes in the supermarket like, hey, I heard this podcast that you had and you said this. So they listen to every word we say. So what do you think in regards to just that bit of inspiration for that fellow entrepreneur out there? What would that be?
Oh, gosh. I think really I tell myself every day that the Lisa Peskin's quote of, treat yourself like your best friend or your twin sister would. And the work begets work. Just keep going. Just keep making those small little improvements every day.
Like a little Dora. Just keep swimming.
Just keep swimming. Swimming. Exactly.
I love it. So, well, thank you for being here today. I appreciate that. Guys, don't forget Grace Gill, CEO and founder of Daughters Floral Design. Please reach out to her. Her work is beautiful.
Thank
her
you.
website is amazing. And again, I'm Marcia O'Connor. I'm your host today with Shadow Her Podcast. Until next time, believe in you because we do. Take care, everyone.